Hello guys and welcome to today's video, and this little segment here is something I would like to call Tropics Around the World episode 1. And what we're going to do with these segments is that, I want to try to upload every single day for you guys, whether that be, tropics that are, happening around the world or in the North Atlantic or Eastern Pacific. So, until we get to hurricane season, I want to try to get at least something out for you guys every single day. And then in this case, I'm going to be talking about multiple cyclones or would be try hard tropical cyclones in the making. These segments are going to be about 10 to 20 minutes long, hopefully. So, with that being said, let's take a look at the remnants of tropical cyclone Gombe. And as you can see, it's located at 18.3 south, 36.6 east. Maximum sea winds are at 20 knots or 25 miles per hour. North pressure is 1,007 millibars. So obviously, its torque through land really took its toll on this system. It's been on land for about 4 days now, and it's probably making its way back on water now. As you can see here, here's the plot point, and this was at 12Z, which is 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it was already near the coast. So I'm guessing that it's already out on the Mozambique Channel right now. All right, so with that being said, it's apparently the mid-level center has survived the trip through the land here, multiple days through land, and some people say that might even the low-level center might have survived too. Well, we're just gonna have to see how that all plays out as we go out through time. If those things really did survive, then it might have another chance, as we're gonna show with some of the modeling here. We're gonna take a look at the two main computer models here, though. First, and this is a 12Z GFS, and as you see, 24 hours. Remnants of Gombe is just a bunch of rain here. 48 hours out, still nothing. 72, a whole bunch of rain. 96, and also a neat little feature here near Madagascar that has 91S. It has been re-added to the ATCF here. Here is 96 hours and still no Gombe. In 120 hours, it's nothing. So there's really nothing to worry about when it comes to the GFS in terms of Gombe. So let's see what the European has. And this is initialized at 60. So we only got 90 hours here to look here. And as you can see, here's the remnants of Gombe. You see the low pressure area here by the European. So the European is definitely more on it than the GFS is, because the GFS doesn't have any low pressure area whatsoever. And as you can see, it just meanders near the coast and really doesn't really do anything with it. So the European says no to Gombe, but a bunch of rain. It does say a bunch of rain here. So that's going to be an interesting, flooding event in some areas, I'm sure, as we go out through time. All right, so here is the H Wharf, and the H Wharf is definitely bullish with with Gombe. This is the model that really loves Gombe. So 24 hours out, 1,005 millibars is still there. The low pressure area for the Gombe is still there. 15 knots of wind and 85% relative humidity. So it's dealing with moderate shear, which could inhabit it a little bit, but the relative humidity is definitely good. So 48 hours out, as you can see, it starts to dwindle away a little bit. And in 72 hours, it just meanders. And then 99, and then bam, what is this? H Wharf, you are a crazy model. You definitely are a crazy model. It's dealing with some moderate shear, but the relative humidity is pretty nice here. So we're just gonna have to see how this all plays out, and then it makes landfall again in pretty much the same area that it did coming into Mozambique at 982 millibars, which is a pretty decent Category 1 equivalent cyclone. Just because of my model shows this, I'm going to give it a low chance of redevelopment. But we're just going to have to see how it all pans out, as it comes out more into the Mozambique Channel, and whether it is, favorable or not for redevelopment at this time. But I can definitely tell you guys that the sea surface temperatures are definitely warm enough for redevelopment if it tries to do so. As you guys can see, we got some 29s and 30s here. So this is pretty much rocket fuel for any system that goes into the Mozambique Channel. So this is, even though one model shows it, it's a hurricane model, so we take it with a grain of salt because it doesn't have recon in it. There is a chance that this could redevelop into something. We just don't know how strong yet. But there's a better chance of it not doing anything than there is doing something. So we're just gonna have to see how it works out, whether the shear cooperates. We already know the sea surface temperatures are going to cooperate, and we're just gonna have to see what it does here in the future. All right, so here's the next area that we're going to be talking about. And this is Tropical Cyclone 20. And in my opinion, this should already have been a named storm, but the BOM has this rule where 3/4 of the quadrants of the circulation need to have gale force winds, and apparently they haven't found that. So I think they're going to have a missed opportunity to name this Billy. Sorry, Billy, you're going to have to find another circulation to preoccupy your name with. Um, it's just that I don't like the 3/4 quadrant rule. I think they really need to refine that rule so that they're not missing out opportunities to name systems like this. And as you can see, it's actually pretty nice. It looks like it's bursting up some convection here, um, but those colors are waning a little bit, and we're just gonna have to see what it does here in the next several hours or so. All right, so here we are, Tropical Cyclone 20. It's looking at 16.2 south, 99.9 east. Max sustained winds are 50 knots or 60 miles per hour, and minimal central pressure is 994 millibars. So as you can see, this is an unnamed system with 60-mile-per-hour winds. When do you I mean, it's happened, but it's a dumb thing to not name something that's 60 miles per hour. So I mean that's BOM's priority here. So I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna bash on them too much because gotta have respect for these people and what they try. They try their best to keep people safe from these systems. As you can see here, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center has it at 45 knots, but as you guys know, we're at 50 knots now. So it's already hit its peak here, and it may strengthen a little bit more since it reached 50 miles per hour sooner than they expected it to. So we're just gonna have to see if this makes it to 70 miles per hour or not. Because as you can see, after 6C tomorrow, it's gonna start weakening a little bit. So it doesn't have a whole lot of time to work with here. And as you can see, these plot points here, it strengthens, but then starts to weaken. I think that's due to some shear and dry air in the area. All right, so here's the look at the GFS for 90, or not 90, but Tropical Cyclone 20 here. And as you can see, this is initialized at 12Z, and we're at a 991 millibars as we speak at this moment. So it is dealing with 7 knots of shear, but the relative humidity, like I said, it's been dealing with some dry air issues. It's only 64% relative humidity. So we're going to go out 24 hours. And as you see, it's starting to weaken now. And that's due to, like I said, the dry air that is going to be, entrained into the system by this 12 knots of shear. 47% relative humidity is definitely not a good look for the system whatsoever. And as you can see, by hour 80, like it dissipates at 72 pretty much, and it doesn't really reform after that. All right, so here is the European, and this was initialized at 60, and as you can see, 998 millibars. So this is definitely not as strong as other models or the ATCF for that matter. Shear is good, and it definitely holds up to the GFS in terms of the relative humidity at 65%. We're just going to see what it does here. And as you can see, it survives a little bit longer than the GFS here. We're going to pick a point here. We're going to do 48 hours and see what the soundings are like. 20 knots this year and 54% relative humidity. That is death. That is definitely death to a cyclone. 72 hours. We are at 10 knots and 52% relative humidity, and at this point, it's pretty much done at this point. All right, so let's take a look at the H Wharf, and as you guys know, that Wharf is definitely a cyclone happy, hurricane model. And as you can see, we're gonna go 24 hours out. We're gonna do a little bit of a sounding action here. Yeah, we're at 12 knots of shear and 69% relative humidity. So, and it definitely keeps it pretty nice here as we go out through time. 20, that's not definitely not a good look. It shouldn't be looking like that period if it's 22 knots and 59% relative humidity. And as you can see, at that point, it pretty much meanders and dissipates as we go out through the next couple of days. All right, so here is the sea surface temperatures for this region, and obviously this is the same map as the one that I showed for Gombe for obvious reasons. Uh, let's see, it's dealing with some 29s and 30s here, so that is definitely not not a problem for it whatsoever. But like I said, it is the shear and the relative humidity that is putting a damper on this system as we speak. And like I said, this was a missed opportunity to put a name out for a system that probably should have deserved it, in my honest opinion. Because yesterday when I was looking at some things, it did have a banding eye to it. So, this was definitely a missed opportunity. And, like I said, Billy, you're gonna have to find another day to shine, which I hope is coming soon. All right, so here is Invest 91B, and this is the one that is the GFS is really picking up on this, and this is the only model that really is bullish with this system. But we're gonna have to see how this pans out and how it evolves throughout time. This is the location is at 30.6 north, 87.8 east. Maximum sustained winds are 15 knots at 20 miles per hour. And minimum central pressure is 1,008 millibars. And as you can see, we're going to click here. It is looking, I don't know where the center is. I'm guessing it's where this blob is. If so, that's a lot of convection there. I mean, I could be wrong. The center could be out here, somewhere. But, that's a lot of convection there that is trying to, you know, get together there, and it looks like it's rotating a little bit. So that could be where the center of circulation is. I could be wrong. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the that stuff up right now. And as you can see, we're taking a look at the GFS, and this wasn't. I don't have to say that again. But this is 6 hours out, 48 hours out, and as you can see, here at around 96 hours, this is when it starts to really form. And we can see that the shear is moderate, so this is going to hurt it a little bit, as you guys can see from the mess that is the vortexes here. But the relative humidity is really really up there at 94%. And here we are at 120 hours. Obviously, I'm not going to go any farther than this. We are at 10 knots of shear and 96% relative humidity. So these are really good uh, you know, looks for a strengthening tropical cyclone. And, obviously I'm not going to go any farther than this, but I can tell you that it does strengthen after this point. But as you can see here, these islands down here really need to pay attention to this going forward. Um, I'm going to be paying attention to this for you guys. And obviously, once it gets later into time, I'm going to put this into bigger priority over any other system as we go out through time. But the GFS seems to be the only one that's really, trigger happy with this system, as we're going to look here at the European now. And as you can see here, it does the monsoon that it comes from is there, but as you can see, it just really doesn't do anything with it. Nothing at all. What about zero Z? Does zero Z do anything with it? Nope, nothing. So we're gonna have to see if GFS is correct on this or not. I think it's up in the air. It's an invest right now, so that's a start. So we're just gonna have to see how it pans out and which models are correct on this. The GFS might be a little bit too bullish on this, but we're gonna have to, really watch and pay attention to this. I want to keep people safe from this if it does eventually go towards land. All right, so here is the sea surface temperatures for that part of the Bay of Bengal here, and as you can see, we're dealing with 29s and 30s, just like the other systems that are here, and there is plenty of 29s and 30s to go along with it while it is in this area here if it goes towards land. So this definitely has the rocky fuel to really take off if it wants to. Like I said, if it needs to have the wind shear and the relative humidity good too, and it looks like the GFS has those things pretty much set for this invest to really blow up. But like I said, not there are some models that form this, and then there's those like the European that don't. So we're gonna have to see which half of the models form it, and which half of the models don't form it. So that's gonna be the answers to those are gonna be answered here in about the next day or two probably. So I will definitely keep up tuned on that. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of Tropics Around the World. I will be back again tomorrow with another Tropics Around the World. Until then, thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.